My uncle stashed drugs at my house, slept with my wife, and got me arrested. He took over my role as a father for 2 years. Now that I'm out and the truth is exposed, he's facing prison time after I sued the police department, and my wife is begging me to come back home. 2 years ago, I got arrested in my own house for something I didn't do. A full-on raid. Cops yelling, throwing me on the floor in front of my kid, and dragging me out in cuffs like I was some cartel boss. They found a duffel bag in the crawl space of our basement. Inside, pills and stacks of cash, enough to hit me with intent to distribute. I had no idea how it got there. The minute I saw it, I knew I was screwed. Nothing I said mattered, no history, no clean record, nothing. They said the house was mine. The drugs were inside, so I was the one going down. I wasn't some naive guy. I knew how it looked, but it didn't stop me from yelling to anyone who'd listen that it wasn't mine. I told them I'd never seen that bag before. I even offered to take a polygraph. None of it mattered. Here's where it gets worse. About 6 months before the arrest, my uncle, let's just call him Daryl, was staying with me and my wife Isabella. He was coming off some personal mess, lost his apartment, claimed he was trying to get clean, said he just needed a place to stay for a bit. I never fully trusted him, but he's family, and at the time, I figured giving him a roof and some stability might help. We didn't have a huge house, but we made it work. He stayed in the guest room, didn't pay rent, but helped around with little stuff. I didn't think he'd betray me. Not like this. Isabella wasn't a fan of having him around at first, but eventually, they got comfortable. Too comfortable in hindsight. I'd come home from a double shift and they'd be watching TV together, acting like roommates. I chalked it up to him trying to bond. I didn't want to be that guy who was paranoid about his own uncle, but I noticed little things, the way she got more distant after a while, how she seemed annoyed every time I tried to talk about the future, how suddenly she had headaches every other night. I didn't push it. I was tired, working to keep things together. After the arrest, everything happened fast. Court dates, bail denial, public defender saying I was looking at a solid sentence unless I pled out. I held my ground, said I wasn't guilty. That got me the full ride, 2 years, no parole early on. Isabella stood by me at first. She brought my kid to visit a couple of times, told me to stay strong, said she believed me. She cried during sentencing. I thought we'd survive it. Then she just stopped showing up. No visits, no letters, no calls. The messages I left didn't get answered. She blocked the prison line. I had to hear about my son through my sister, who still lived in town. She said he was okay, but even she admitted Isabella was acting strange. She wouldn't tell me much, just said, "Things have changed." I started to get the picture after a while, but there wasn't much I could do from the inside. I'd lie awake at night, trying to figure out how the drugs even got into my house. I kept circling back to one thing: Daryl. He was the only other adult with access to every part of the house. He knew the layout, knew the crawl space, but he vanished not long after I got locked up, just packed his stuff and left. 2 years is a long time when you're innocent, especially when you lose everything. Job's gone, reputation's destroyed, son barely remembers you, and your wife, she moved on without a word. Then came the surprise. About 6 weeks ago, I got pulled into the warden's office. Some legal rep was waiting there with news. Turns out a bunch of cases tied to my arresting precinct were under review due to shady search procedures, unlawful entries, missing warrant details, dirty evidence chains. My lawyer had filed for review a year prior, and it finally got traction. They vacated my conviction. I got out 2 weeks later. Freedom didn't feel like victory. I walked out to nothing, no welcome, no family waiting, just a cold world and a cheap duffel bag with my old clothes. I went to stay with my cousin, Dean, who's the only one that still had my back. No one else even picked up my calls. The day after I got out, Dean sat me down, said he needed to tell me something before I found out from someone else. He pulled up a photo on his phone. It was my kid, my son, standing on a front porch next to Daryl. The porch looked familiar. It should have. It was my house. That was the killer. Daryl didn't just move in. He stayed, moved into my house with my wife, raised my son, acted like he stepped in when I messed up. Dean told me the neighborhood talks had been going on for a while. People saying how tragic it was, how Isabella found comfort in Daryl, how he became a stable figure for my kid. Some even believed I deserved to be locked up. I sat on that for days. Couldn't sleep. Couldn't eat. I kept wondering if Isabella was in on it from the start. Did she know the bag was planted? Did they set me up? Or was she just weak and didn't want to believe I was innocent? Either way, I was done playing dumb. I didn't care if they cried or begged or tried to explain it away. I wanted answers. I haven't confronted them yet. I've just been watching from the outside, gathering what little I can. I found out from Dean that my son started calling Daryl Dad about a year in. That broke something in me. Not just because I missed him, but because some other man took my place and I was erased, rewritten. Now I'm sitting here. No job, no home, barely a bank account to my name, and a life that got hijacked by people I trusted. I'm angry. I'm tired. I'm trying not to do something I can't take back. I don't know what the move is. Do I go over there and confront them? Do I go straight to a lawyer and start pulling files on Daryl? Is there even a way to prove he planted that bag? Would Isabella even admit to anything now? I know this isn't a movie. I'm not expecting a big showdown where everyone confesses and cries and the truth magically fixes everything, but I also know I can't sit here and act like this didn't happen. I'm not the same guy I was 2 years ago. I want justice, or whatever's left of it, but I also want to see my kid again. I want him to know I didn't walk out on him. I'm just trying to figure out where the line is between getting my life back and burning the rest of theirs to the ground. I need to know what the next move is, because this isn't over, not even close. Update 1. I didn't go into that house thinking it would fix anything. I just needed to see their faces when they saw mine. The same faces that used to smile when I walked through the door, now living a whole new life without me, in my home, with my son. I was done sitting on the sidelines wondering. I needed answers, even if they were ugly. My cousin dropped me off a block away. I wasn't trying to start a scene, but I wasn't walking in quiet either. I waited outside for a minute just watching the house. My kid was riding a scooter in the driveway. That hit harder than I expected. I hadn't seen him in almost 2 years, and he looked older, like I missed a whole chunk of his life. He didn't recognize me. That was the first heart-wrencher. He just looked at me like I was some stranger walking up. I didn't even say anything at first. I just looked at him, trying to register the fact that this was my son, and he didn't know me. Isabella came to the door. I could tell she wasn't expecting me. She froze like her brain was trying to process 10 things at once. No yelling, no slamming doors, just a stunned look, and then she stepped aside like she knew I wasn't going to leave without stepping in. The house looked the same, just more lived in. Toys everywhere. Pictures of my son on the wall, some of them with my uncle in them, like he belonged there. That was the second punch. I stood there trying to focus, not explode, but my hands were shaking. He came down the stairs calm as ever. My uncle, the man I used to look up to. He gave me some smug half nod like this whole thing was a reunion instead of the fallout from him ruining my life. He didn't apologize, didn't act nervous, just said it was messed up what happened, and that he'd moved on from it. Like it was something that happened to him, not something he caused. I didn't bother playing nice. I asked straight up if he planted that duffel bag. He shrugged it off, saying I must have been mixed up with the wrong people and probably forgot something I did, trying to gaslight me like I was some low-level dealer who lost track of 10 grand in a gym bag full of pills. Isabella jumped in fast, not to defend me, just to smooth things over. She said there was no point dragging the past back up, that what happened was already dealt with legally, and maybe I should focus on rebuilding instead of going backwards. I asked her if she really believed I put that stuff there. She didn't answer at first, just looked down and said something about not knowing what to believe anymore. That was the moment it hit me. She never really believed in me, not back then, not now, even when I swore it wasn't mine, even when she knew I wasn't doing anything shady. She didn't believe it. She just moved on. She admitted she started leaning on my uncle a few months after I got arrested. She said it started out as help with our son. He'd already been staying there, sleeping on the couch before everything went down. When I got locked up, she said she was overwhelmed. The bills, the kid, the judgment from people. She leaned on him, and one thing led to another. I don't think she even realized how pathetic that sounded. It wasn't some accident. It was a choice. I asked her why she stopped responding to my letters. She said it hurt too much, said she thought I'd get out and make things worse, come back angry and violent, that I'd ruin everything she'd rebuilt. I asked her why no one told me about them being together. She said she didn't want to add more pain to what I was already going through. But that's crap. She didn't want to be seen as the bad guy. That's all it was. I didn't stay long. My uncle acted like I was the one bringing drama into their happy little home. Isabella tried to act like she was caught in the middle. Neither one took responsibility for what they did. I walked out before it got to the point where I'd say something I couldn't take back. I don't want to be the guy who loses it and ends up back inside. But the second I got outside, I knew something wasn't right. Something about their story didn't line up. Too clean, too rehearsed. My gut told me they were still hiding something. The next day, I got a DM on Facebook. Guy I barely remembered, neighbor's nephew. He used to hang around a few blocks down, came over to play ball sometimes when we had neighborhood cookouts. He said he had something to tell me and didn't want it in writing, gave me a number to call. We met that afternoon. He looked nervous but serious. Said he'd always felt guilty for not speaking up sooner. He told me he saw my uncle going into my basement crawlspace late at night, maybe 2 or 3 days before the cops raided my place. Said it looked sketchy. My uncle was acting real careful, kept looking around like he didn't want to be seen. This guy didn't say anything back then because he was on probation and didn't want to be involved with anything that might drag him into court. He told me everything, and I recorded it. He agreed to sign a statement if I needed it. Said it's been eating at him for 2 years. He knew something was off, but kept quiet because he didn't trust the police to do the right thing. Can't blame him. That changed everything. It wasn't just suspicion now. It was someone else backing up what I already knew deep down. I got set up by someone I trusted in my own house while I was working 10-hour shifts trying to keep the lights on. I called the lawyer who helped get my conviction overturned. She told me this could be a big deal, especially since the precinct I was arrested by had already been under fire for bad raids and illegal searches. We scheduled a meeting. So now I've got something real, a witness, a story that fits, a corrupt precinct already under scrutiny. I'm filing a civil suit against the department for wrongful conviction, and my lawyer's helping me look into possible charges against my uncle. If we can prove intent and connect his statement to the police report, there might be enough to push criminal charges for perjury or worse. Isabella hasn't reached out again yet. I'm guessing the panic hasn't set in over there, but it will. If my uncle gets hit with legal trouble and that house becomes part of an investigation, things are going to get uncomfortable real fast. I don't know what justice looks like anymore. I just know I want the truth out there. I want it on record that I didn't do what they said I did, and if that means dragging every skeleton out of every closet, so be it. I've got nothing left to lose. Next step is the legal side. I'll post another update after I meet with the lawyer again and start the process. This time, I'm not letting them bury me. Not again. Update 2. I've been quiet the past couple weeks because I had to move carefully. Once I had that call with Javon, the neighbor's nephew, I knew I was sitting on the one thing that could blow all of this open. But having a story and proving a case are two completely different things. So I stayed cold, methodical. No more emotional outbursts. No more pacing around thinking about everything I lost. I treated this like a job. I met Javon in person, recorded the whole thing. He said he'd seen my uncle go into my basement late at night, alone. At first he thought nothing of it. He just figured my uncle lived there, maybe needed something. But he admitted it was weird because he knew I wasn't home that night. And after the raid happened, he put 2 and 2 together but said nothing. He'd been on probation back then, scared that even saying something to police would put him on their radar. But now, seeing everything that went down with my case and the way the department got exposed in the media, he wanted to clear his conscience. I gave the recording to the lawyer who helped get my case overturned. He was cautious, said it wouldn't guarantee anything, but it added weight, especially since the precinct had already come under fire for search violations. Then he pulled my uncle's background, something I never thought to do before. Turns out the man had 2 sealed records out of state. One for DRG possession in the early 2000s, and another for obstruction. Nothing that showed up when he was staying with us. Nothing that would have pinged without a deeper check. Here's where it got serious. My lawyer got access to a copy of my arrest report and statements taken back then. My uncle had given a statement to police claiming I'd been acting erratic and had new friends coming around late at night. He basically helped build the case against me from the inside. That's what gave them enough probable cause to focus on me and not him. So we filed a civil suit against the department, wrongful conviction, malicious prosecution, and emotional damages. The second that went public, the whole situation changed. Reporters started reaching out. I didn't speak to anyone yet. I'm not interested in becoming a face for anyone's cause. I just want my name back, my time, my son. Isabella must have caught wind of it because she started calling again. This time she didn't sound cool or defensive. She sounded scared. She left a voicemail talking about how she didn't want our kid caught in the middle of this and that she was sorry for how everything happened, but she was trapped and couldn't risk losing the house. I didn't respond. I knew she'd crack once she realized this might get bigger than some old letters and dirty glances. A week later, I got confirmation from the lawyer. The city had opened an internal review of not just my case, but a handful of arrests made by the same precinct in the same year, all tied to the same group of officers. Apparently, my case had just been the start of what snowballed into a serious audit. Then, it all hit at once. The duffel bag they'd used as evidence, it had never been tested for DNA. Don't ask me how they managed to get a conviction without it, but they had. Now that it was under review, they ran a test, and guess who showed up? Not me, not Isabella, my uncle. DNA from his skin cells on the zipper and inside the lining. It didn't stop there. Someone higher up in the DA's office quietly dropped the bomb that my uncle's original testimony was being re-examined and might have been perjury. That alone could carry charges, but add in his priors, and they were looking at him with a whole new lens. So now the threat was real, and Isabella, she went into full-blown panic mode. She came to my cousin's place where I've been staying, just showed up unannounced, something she hadn't done since I got out. I didn't let her in, but I stepped out to talk to her. She looked like she hadn't slept. Told me she'd spoken to a lawyer and that if I pushed this, she might get wrapped up in it too since she had no idea what my uncle was doing, but didn't come forward once I got arrested. She kept trying to say she was just protecting our son. I told her I didn't care about her excuses anymore. She let that man into our home, let him take over my life, my role, my kid, and now that the spotlight's on her too, she wants to talk about feelings? Number. She said she was willing to cooperate if things got legal, but she also didn't want to destroy the family. That phrase set me off. I told her the family was destroyed the second she chose silence over loyalty, the second she let my uncle get comfortable in my son's life while I rotted away, writing letters no one read. She left crying. I didn't follow her. A couple days ago my lawyer called, said the department wants to settle. No drawn-out fight, no admission of guilt, just a quiet payout and an expunged record. It's not life-changing money, but it's something. More importantly, it's a win, a real one. But that's not all. Prosecutors officially opened a case against my uncle. Possession with intent to distribute, obstruction, and perjury. 3 felonies. There's a hearing next month. No more speculation. No more wondering. He's going to court. And now Isabella's texting again. Telling me our son keeps asking where I am. Says he's confused. Wants to know why both dads are gone now. She wants to talk. Wants to explain. Says she wants to fix things. I haven't replied. Not because I'm scared or because I don't know what to say. I do. I'm just done wasting energy on people who only care when it's inconvenient for them not to. I don't want revenge. I want clarity. I want peace. And I want to be a father again, but not on someone else's terms. I've already got an appointment with a family therapist. Just me for now. I need to decide what kind of father I want to be. Whether I want to see my son soon or wait until I'm in the right headspace. This next step matters. I'm not going to walk back into that mess just because someone's scared of legal blowback. Let them be scared. They should be. Because the truth is finally out, and this time, I'm not the one paying for it. Update 3. A lot has happened since my last post. I've been laying low and letting things unfold without jumping the gun. I didn't want to post anything until it felt real, and now it does. The settlement is signed, the criminal case is active, and my ex-wife is acting like none of this is her fault. So here's where we're at now. The lawsuit I filed against the department didn't make it to trial. I guess they realized this could blow up if it went public, and I wasn't bluffing about media coverage. Once my lawyer pulled together the timeline, Javon's statement, and dug into the department's history of misconduct, they knew it was a mess. My case got tossed on technical grounds, and their entire process around the search and arrest was shaky at best. The only reason it took this long was because no one cared enough to look deeper. They offered a settlement low 6 figures. Not life-changing, but enough to give me breathing room. It came with the usual, "this is not an admission of wrongdoing" garbage, but it also included a written apology from the department and full expungement of my record. No felony, no drug charge, nothing. I've got a clean slate now. That means something, even if it came 2 years late. But here's the part that really matters. My uncle's going down. The investigation picked up fast once my lawsuit put heat on the department. They started looking harder at how the duffel bag got in my crawl space, and things started unraveling for him. Turns out the bag had his DNA on the zipper, something the original case never even tested. His old statement about me acting paranoid didn't match up with call logs and text records they pulled from my old phone. Then they found out he had sealed charges from a neighboring state for possession and intent, and suddenly the picture got a lot clearer. They hit him with charges: perjury for lying in the original report, and possession with intent to distribute based on the drugs and the cash in that bag. His lawyer's trying to spin it like he was a scared family member trying to help, but there's too much pointing back at him now. Even Isabella can't deny it anymore. Which brings me to her. She reached out again, not with an attitude this time, not defensive, just crying. She said she's sorry for everything, and that she didn't know who to believe back then. Claimed she was scared, thought I was mixed up in something dangerous, and that my uncle made her feel like he was the only one looking out for her. Said she didn't cheat, at least not at first, but that things got blurry after a while. She's not even sure when it crossed the line. I didn't say much, just let her talk. At this point, I'm not looking for apologies. I'm watching how people move, and what I'm seeing is a woman who's terrified the walls are closing in. She's scared that people are going to come after her next, scared she might lose custody, or that someone's going to look deeper into what she knew and when. She kept saying she felt manipulated, that she thought I was guilty because of how things looked, that she was just trying to survive. But what gets me is she didn't try to talk to me once I got out, not until the lawsuit picked up traction, not until the media got involved, not until the charges against my uncle became real. Now she wants me to come back, not even as her husband, just to be around, to help raise our son again. Says our kid still asks why he has two dads, why one of them went away. She says she doesn't know what to tell him anymore. But that's the thing she does know. She just doesn't want to say it out loud, because then she'd have to admit what she let happen. She had a chance to do the right thing 2 years ago, when I was sitting in a cell, confused out of my mind, getting no letters, hearing my son grow up through one-sentence updates from my sister. She was making a choice. Whether or not she saw the whole picture back then doesn't change the fact that she didn't even look for it. Now that the truth is out, she's trying to rewrite history like it was all just a misunderstanding. But I haven't forgotten those 2 years. The silence. The way everyone just vanished. My son calling another man dad. She let that happen. She lived with the man who framed me, and I'm supposed to believe she was just scared. I'm not yelling about it. I'm not threatening anyone. I'm not banging on doors, but I'm not pretending it didn't happen either. That part of my life is scorched. It doesn't matter if she means it when she cries. I don't owe her a second chance just because she finally feels guilty. I'm talking to a therapist now. At first, I didn't think it would help, but I needed a space where I could say things without worrying how they'd land. A place where I didn't have to pretend I was okay. We talked about seeing my son again, how to do it without throwing him into emotional chaos. The therapist said I need to be consistent, not just show up angry or hurt. That stuck with me. So no, I'm not going back to that house. I don't care how many tears she sheds. I'm not trying to fix a marriage that got buried the day she chose my uncle over me. But I do want to be a father again. That's not negotiable. The next step is getting some kind of custody agreement in motion. I've got a clean record now. I've got money for a lawyer. I've got proof that I didn't abandon my kid. I was abandoned. And if she wants to talk about what's best for our son, that's fine. But she's going to have to do it in court, because I'm not playing house to make her feel better. She can apologize all she wants, but I'm done letting people twist what happened like it was all a big sad accident. It wasn't. It was a choice. Her choice. His choice. The cop's choice. And now they all have to live with the consequences. I'm not bitter anymore. I'm just clear. That part of my life is over. I'm focused on what comes next. Being a dad. Being free. Being me again. And if they're uncomfortable with that, they should have thought about it before they let me rot for something I didn't do. Final update. It took a while to write this, not because I didn't know what happened, but because putting it into words makes it harder to push down. These past couple weeks have been the most emotionally draining ones I've had to live through, and that's saying something, considering I already lost 2 years of my life sitting in a cell for something I didn't do. I met my son last weekend, my real first time seeing him since everything blew up, not through a photo or hearing about him from someone else, but in person. The last time I held him, he was 4 and didn't want to go to sleep unless I carried him to bed. Now he's 6 and looks taller, quieter, and I didn't even know what his favorite color was anymore. That kind of realization hits in a way I don't think you can prepare for. The meeting was in a park neutral ground. It wasn't my idea, but it made sense. I had talked to a family therapist about it beforehand. I've been going to therapy every week since this all started unraveling. Not because I want to heal in some feel-good way, but because I'm scared of becoming someone bitter and cold and taking it out on the wrong people, especially my son. Isabella showed up with him and hung back while I sat on a bench. I saw him glance at me like I was someone he might have seen before, maybe in a dream or a blurry memory. He didn't run up to me. He walked, slowly. I didn't blame him. At first, it was just surface stuff, asking him how school was, if he still liked dinosaurs. He nodded, didn't say much. I could tell he didn't understand the situation fully, but he wasn't dumb. He knew something was off. Then he asked if I was a bad guy, just like that. It didn't come out of nowhere either. He'd probably heard stuff. From Isabella, from my uncle, maybe even from other kids. It wasn't an accusation. He just looked confused and maybe a little scared. And I didn't know what to say at first. I told him that people can say all kinds of things, but what really matters is what's true. And the truth is, I didn't do the thing I was blamed for. I made mistakes, sure, but I never hurt anyone. And I never did anything to deserve being taken away from him like that. He sat with that for a minute. Then he asked if I was coming home. I told him no. That home was different now. But I was going to be around. I was going to be there for him again, not just as someone who used to be in pictures on the wall, but as his dad. I don't know how much of it sunk in, but he nodded again. Then he asked if we could kick the ball around, so we did. We played for maybe half an hour. Then he asked if we could do it again sometime soon. I said yeah, I meant it. Isabella didn't say much during the pickup or drop-off. She thanked me for showing up, said it meant a lot to him. I kept it short. I've heard enough of her apologies through texts and voicemails. At this point, they don't register as anything real. She's still trying to rewrite things. She says she was manipulated, that she felt cornered, that she didn't know what else to do when I got locked up, that she was scared, isolated, and leaned on the only adult in the house who was left. I'm sure there's truth in that, but there's also a line between being scared and being selfish. I don't see how sleeping with my uncle, pretending like I didn't exist, and letting our son grow up calling someone else dad lines up with survival. What hurts more is that she let him replace me completely, not just as a partner but as a father. She didn't even tell my son about me until after the lawsuit hit the news. Suddenly now I'm his real dad again. Before that, I was just a sentence they skipped over. The lawsuit settled. It wasn't some giant payday, but it gave me enough to get my own place and set up something stable. I didn't go back to that house. I didn't want to breathe the same air that man did. I've got my own apartment a few neighborhoods over. Nothing special, but clean, quiet. I've started working part-time and I'm building up from there. My uncle took a plea deal 3 to 5 years. They had enough on him to push that far. DNA on the bag. False statements to police, prior sealed records. He's not going to be out tomorrow. That's something. It's not enough, not compared to what he took, but it's something. He hasn't reached out, obviously. I don't think he ever will. I hope he sits in there and thinks about what he did every single day. Isabella texts me regularly. Most of the time it's about our son, scheduling meetups, updates on school stuff. Sometimes she slips in another apology, another attempt to talk. I keep it transactional. For now, I'm not interested in anything deeper. She says she wants to be honest now, that she wants to make things right. I told her she should start by telling our son the truth because I'm not going to be the one to lie to him about what happened. I filed for partial custody. It's still in process, but based on how things are going, I've got a decent shot. The therapist said it's going to take time for my son to rebuild that connection with me. I already knew that. It's not about forcing anything, it's about showing up again and again until he knows I'm not going anywhere. So no, we're not a family again. Not like before. There's no going back to that version of life. But I am a father again. I'm rebuilding that one step at a time. I'm not doing it for Isabella, not for closure or forgiveness. I'm doing it for my son, because even after everything, he still looked at me with hope, and I'm not going to let that die. I've spent the last 2 years having everything ripped away from me. Now, I'm taking it back piece by piece. Not for revenge, not out of anger, but because I survived it. And I owe it to myself not to keep living like I'm still behind bars. I don't forgive, Not yet, maybe not ever. But I'm not stuck in that moment anymore. Life didn't stop just because mine got paused. I'm done bleeding, I'm moving forward, and I'm not looking back.